She put her faith in the system. She followed doctor's orders. She even agreed reluctantly to go on HRT. But the fatigue, still there. The weight gain, getting worse. And now she has high cholesterol, prediabetes, and a hormone specialist who wants to up her dose without any explanation of what's going on in her body and how it's all connected. Sound familiar? If you feel like you're being offered more prescriptions these days than explanations, then today's power-packed live coaching session is for you. In this real-time hormone balance breakthrough call, you'll meet Natalie, a podcast listener who's gained 30 pounds in a year, despite being on HRT. She's seen numerous doctors, has been diagnosed with multiple hormone imbalances, and now she's on blood pressure medication. Listen in as we unpack her complete hormone assessment, connect the dots between her symptoms and her hormones, and uncover the underlying root causes sabotaging her metabolism, energy, and weight. Plus, hear exactly what she should focus on first and how you can apply the same hormone balancing hacks and lifestyle shifts to your own hormonal chaos. So grab a notebook and put your phone on Do Not Disturb. It's time to start trusting your body again and get your own hormone balance breakthrough. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Welcome to Are You There Midlife? It's me, Monica. Hi, I'm Monica Topetti, wife, mom, health coach, and hormone imbalance survivor. And I'm on a mission to help women in midlife balance hormones naturally without drugs, doctors, or divorce. Are you tired of dealing with heavy, painful periods that look like a crime scene? Are you sick of struggling with anxiety, fatigue, or brain fog that... What was I just saying? Are you frustrated doing all the things to lose weight but still packing on pounds faster than a real housewife changes Birkins? Girl, you are in the right place. Join me each week as I spill the tea on what to expect in perimenopause and beyond. From IBS to insomnia, bloating to funky body odor, I'll unpack all the weird stuff happening inside our midlife bodies, plus give you the latest science and holistic solutions to manage it all. So ditch the Spanx and hop on board the Hot Mess Express. Let's do this. Hey, Natalie, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. As good as can be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to chat with you today. I reviewed your hormone symptom profile assessment and your pre-call questionnaire, and it definitely looks like you're dealing with a lot of hormonal stuff.
Yeah. Did it say I'm dead?
What was that?
Did it say I'm still alive?
The good news is that by the end of this call, I think you're going to have a lot more clarity about what's going on and kind of like the best next steps to move forward. Does that sound good?
Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, great. So let's dive in. Before I get into the results of your assessment, I want to take a few minutes and go over your health history together. You really shared a lot in your pre-call questionnaire, but I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And then I also have a few follow-up questions. So let's go way back to your 20s for a
Yes.
minute.
Okay.
Can you tell me what was happening with your cycle back then and your hormones?
Yes. Even it started back then. I always have had some problems with my cycle, irregular cycles. I never knew, I wasn't consistently getting a period every month. I'd skip cycles. I had heavy bleeding, cramps, just very uncomfortable.
And according to what you shared with me, I think you went to a doctor, and I don't know if they did like an ultrasound or something, but they found a cyst on your ovary and you had ovary surgery.
Yes, I actually was having some severe cramps on the left side on my left ovary, and I didn't know that's what it was. So turns out, yes, I had a cyst on my left ovary, and they said I needed to have surgery. So I went ahead and I had it removed, and it came back years later. But
Mhm.
as far as in the 20s era, yes, that's what I was dealing with then. Also was dealing with, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I had a little bit of hair on my face and stuff like that, just some weird things going on, and I
Mhm.
didn't really quite know what to make of it. And quite honestly, they didn't even say a whole lot except they removed the cyst and sent me on my way, and I really was never given any other information.
Okay. Now you did mention at some point in your history here that you were told you either had PCOS or that your doctor at least strongly suspected it. What happened there?
I mean, a couple things happened. I should say a few things happened, but to keep it brief, is that I was told that I had PCOS based on all the irregular, cycles, the heavy bleeding, and also, of course, it kept getting heavier as I got older, just more problems.
Hmm.
And then I had a miscarriage later on after I got married. And that doctor said, yes, we definitely think you have PCOS. So I had a couple doctors mention that. And then he did say that, very nice, saying, I'm really sorry to tell you you're having a miscarriage, but, your window of opportunity here is small. So if you do, because you do have PCOS, is my suspicion here, is that if you do want to have kids, you need to hurry and try again before the
Okay.
window closes. So,
Okay. And you did
yeah.
go on to have a healthy pregnancy later. Yay.
Yes.
Boy or
A beaut
girl?
It's a girl, her name's Autumn, and she's a teenager.
Okay.
She's
Okay.
14, so I don't know if that adds to the hormone stress, but we can talk about that another day. I'm just saying. That's
Yeah,
giving me
that
gray
that
hair.
yeah, that
Does gray hair
definitely
count?
definitely contributes to cortisol. So you had your girl, and then what happened after that hormonally? Did you have more symptoms flaring up? Like what happened? You mentioned, you had some like more hair, like facial or chin hair. What happened after that with like your periods, your fibroids, your cysts? What happened after that?
Well, and that's what's so interesting is then they sent me to an oncologist for more testing because they said, "Oh, we think you have precancer on your cervix."
Okay.
So every year was just a wonderful year, Monica. Like every year I was finding out
Fine.
new things. I'm like, why didn't they tell me this sooner? What's happening? It just, when I kept getting abnormal pap smears, but then they kept blowing it off, or they would do, I forgot what the procedure was called. I think it was a leap procedure.
Hmm.
Anyways, they kept removing things, and I'm like, okay. So finally, when it came down to it, and it turned into more of a stage 2/stage 3, then they finally went in there and removed that cancerous on my cervix. But they also knew that I had a fibroid tumor on my uterus, and still the left cyst on the ovary persists, and it will not go away. It's so much
Okay.
fun. But anyways, it's still there. And I
Okay.
just had a pelvic ultrasound as well. And so I don't have the new results of that yet, but I'm sure everything's still there. So I don't
Okay.
think there's anything new to report there. But that's what I went through in that time. And I
Okay.
and I ended up having surgery as well on that, on the uterus and on the cervix at
Okay.
different times.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned that you had a biopsy that confirmed estrogen dominance and low progesterone. I'm just curious, what guidance or treatment were you given at that point for that diagnosis?
You're so funny. Nothing. Nothing. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. I just still can't believe it. So I'm just really happy that I listen to your podcast. I really believe in what you're saying. That's why I'm excited to see if you could help me. This has gone on way too long, and I've been giving not even a brochure about any of this, nothing. And so I just think honestly that the doctors are still, they don't really learn this in school. So I really feel like this is not something they know enough about. They're just probably now just discovering certain things. But I went through a couple of surgeries. At the one surgery where they dissected my uterus, they removed tumors actually out of my uterus. And I don't want to be too graphic, but this might be too graphic. I don't know. But I was told that my tumors, which I don't know how they missed in all of my appointments, but when they finally got in there to do the surgery, they said that my tumors, it was like hard, like carpet, like they had to remove it.
Oh, wow.
And it was from there they were able to dissect that. And that's when they discovered, yes, you have no progesterone and you're estrogen dominant. So it
Okay.
was nice to actually get a medical diagnosis at that
Yeah.
point. But did I get
Yeah.
anything from that? No, they still
No.
sent me home on my merry way with no other further information.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. That's really unfortunate. It's
Yeah.
fairly typical, not always, but fairly typical with like conventional medicine versus like a functional medicine or integrative health practitioner. Um,
Yeah.
and then I guess a few years later, if I'm following this timeline correctly, they discovered a pituitary tumor. Can you walk me through how that was found and kind of what you were told?
Exactly. I want the doctors to walk me through how they missed all this information. Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah,
Because, my blood work, this is another thing too. My blood work kept coming back within normal limits.
for all your hormones.
Yes.
Yeah,
And so,
yes.
hello, I have a pituitary tumor. And we found that incidentally because I was having vertigo. And a friend of mine said, you might want to go get that checked. I'm like, it's just vertigo. Don't worry about it. It's gone. Every now and then, my dad and my uncle get that. No big deal. And I
Mhm.
kind of had some mild headaches with it. Didn't really think much of it. Finally went to the ENT. Long story short, they did the MRI. They found the pituitary tumor, and it completely freaked me out because I was then on the chopping block to potentially have a surgery to remove it. But instead, they wanted to monitor it and check my hormones because if my hormones show, too much imbalance, then I would be immediately having a surgery
Mhm.
to remove it because you can go blind from that as well.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
learned there that the pituitary tumor is like the master gland of all your hormones. And I'm like, oh, well, this explains all the nightmares that I've been going through
Yeah.
and the cysts on the ovary. And so I just couldn't believe that all my tests were coming back normal when I felt like crap. All these symptoms are going on. I've had like 3 surgeries to remove
Oh my
cysts,
goodness.
cancer, whatever else, all in that region, pelvic region. And
Yeah.
then being told, the icing on the cake, oh, and you have a pituitary tumor. I do get headaches from that, and I do feel nauseous sometimes and fatigue.
Mhm.
But yeah, I wish I could walk you through that, Monica. But
God.
I don't know
Oh
what to
my
tell you. By the
goodness.
way, I still never got a brochure or any information on any of this. I have to
Oh
look it up
my
online.
God.
So
Oh
yeah.
wow. Okay. All right. And that was around, you put in your timeline, you think that was around 2021. So at that point, you're probably in perimenopause, menopause. When did you feel like your symptoms started to get noticeably worse? Was it around the time that menopause started?
Yes, I mean, I kind of got a little bit of symptoms. I always had that irregularity with my period, so how would I know if I'm skipping periods? That's kind of a normal thing for me. But it did start becoming more and more heavier bleeding, much heavier bleeding, more cramping, some fatigue and tiredness. And then I started a new job. So then I was working full time and sitting down a lot. So my exercise regimen changed. And then, not too long ago, over the course of a year, I gained 30 pounds in like 1 year. But before that was happening too, this is so crazy, but this is embarrassing, but I was bending over just to pick up a little tiny bathroom trash can, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And my back popped.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
had a popping noise on my lower back. So looking back, I'm realizing now that this is joint pain and
Mm-hmm.
muscle weakness coming from whatever, the lack of estrogen or whatever was going on hormonally in my
Yeah.
body over
Yeah.
that year. And I really was missing those signs. I just thought, crap, I'm getting old, this
Right.
sucks. But
Right.
I didn't
Right.
really think much of that except maybe I bent over the wrong way and kind of shrugged that off. But then I gained the 30 pounds. My exercise and sleep regimen changed when I started working full time. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not complaining. I'm very grateful to have the job. I know most women out there are working, so I'm not any different than most other people, but I'm like on the go. So my eating
Sure.
habits changed too. I'm being on the
Right.
go. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
Okay.
all those changes happened. So then as my blood work started coming in, they did start noticing, oh, I'm in menopause.
Yeah.
And so that's where I knew, oh, okay, this is changing. Oh my gosh. And then post menopause
Yeah.
recently
So
happened.
you said postmenopause began around 2024. So like last year, you mentioned the weight gain, the joint pain, fatigue, frozen shoulder. Since then, what kind of support or treatments have you tried since then? I know you mentioned HRT.
Yes. And just to tell you, postmenopause is a nightmare. I really don't feel like they tell you, you think, oh, you're just going to get hot flashes.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the hot flashes for me were so minimal. That was like my least thing that ever happened. Like it didn't even happen that often for me. I don't know why. but I had
Right.
every other symptom under the book that
Yeah.
I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
So the frozen shoulder, what? Like,
Yeah.
who would have
Yeah.
connected those dots? I woke up one morning and I had frozen shoulder. This just recently happened last year. And I
Mm-hmm.
still have it. I'm still dealing with it. I'm actually just received a lab order that if I want to go get an x-ray or MRI of that shoulder, I can, and also some physical therapy. But, uh, I'm already spending a lot of money. So where I'm at now is, yes, I started doing the HRT
Mm-hmm.
because the only reason why I started that, I was trying to do this naturally, but it was really hard for me to stay on point,
Mm-hmm.
with nutrition and exercise and all the right things and all the sleep and whatever. So I cried uncle because I was finally
Mm-hmm.
working all day. And as soon as the end of the day hit, I was on the couch and couldn't move. Like I felt like a 90-year-old lady
Yeah.
for reals. I was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
sitting on the couch, not wanting to do anything. My husband was having to make the dinners. And
Yeah.
the sad part is with that is, the husband doesn't, they can see that maybe you're struggling, but they don't really see it completely because it's not like you have a broken arm and it's really visible.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why are you tired all the time? What's going
Right.
on?
Right.
It's hard to get
I
that
work
support.
too. I'm tired too.
Yeah, you have to like really like
Yeah.
stress that, hey,
Yeah.
menopause isn't just hot flashes. It's
Yeah.
so much more.
Yeah.
Plus, I have a pituitary tumor, so I don't know what all contributes to what, but so I did start the HRT and it did help a little bit. It got me off the couch. So I
Okay.
feel like I'm at a point now where I have a little bit of energy, still having all the same symptoms and the fatigue. And as of now, with my blood work, I'm still struggling with all those same symptoms. It's just a tad better to where I can get off the couch and maybe once in a while make the dinner or go leave the house or even try to do a
Right.
small workout, but I'm
Right.
very limited right now, still very
Right.
limited, especially with
Okay.
mobility with my shoulder.
You're on estradiol, you're on progesterone, you're on testosterone.
Yes.
Now you're working, I see, with an endocrinologist. What is she tested for or discovered so far?
She said that, well, it looks like I'm pre-diabetic. I'm bordering on pre-diabetic there.
Okay.
It looked like I was pre-diabetic, and now I'm right on the line. I don't
Okay.
know what this next set of blood work is going to look like, and I've yet to do a follow up with her. And that
Okay.
will be happening soon. But she tested for hormones as well,
Yeah, you
and
mentioned Cushing's. She
and
tested,
Cushing's, yeah. And she
and
did a
that was
24-hour
negative.
urine collection for Cushing's because I guess she even admitted that the blood work isn't always accurate, and she wanted a urine collection of 24 hours to
Mm-hmm.
get a more accurate reading. I haven't had my follow up with her yet, but looking at it, it looks like it's not Cushing's, but from my own inexperienced eyes, it looks like it was still maybe a little on the high side. But I do know that she did mention that she wants to do another testing of that. She wants to do a second test
Mm-hmm.
to look at that to make sure it is accurate. So I'm getting another round of blood work and the Cushing's test to make sure that that is true. And I really hope I don't have that. It doesn't look like I do, but you never know. I'm just, when I pass this second test, I'll feel better about that.
Sure. And then you also mentioned low T3 uptake, high cholesterol, and she mentioned, I don't know if it was Manjaro or another medication that she suggested you take as well.
Yes, the low T3 uptake was actually from the other doctor that I'm seeing. I know, just so many doctors. It's very expensive, Monica.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
like going broke. I'm like, there's my vacation.
Yeah,
Bye.
right. Oh gosh.
So I'm like, yeah, it's really adding up. So the main doctor that I've been seeing is the OBGYN slash urologist specialist that also handles the hormone side of it. Her blood work is the one that she did on me that showed the low T3 uptake.
Okay.
So that's low thyroid. So that could also be
Mm-hmm.
why I'm feeling like crap. My muscles hurt
Mm-hmm.
and of all those symptoms. But with the endocrinologist, she noticed it too. So I'm going to be doing some more blood work and reviewing that with her, and I haven't had my follow-up with her yet to see
Right.
anything else. But even in that first appointment, yes, she mentioned that with the prediabetes, the 30-pound weight gain, the hormones, with where they're at. She mentioned that Manjaro or some kind of whatever you call that, diabetic slash weight
GLP-1.
loss
Uh-huh.
might be something that would work for me even temporarily. But I did let her know that I know this really rock star lady named Monica that specializes in this kind of thing. And I really want to avoid diabetic medicine.
Right.
And all the things. So I'm also allergic to a lot of medicines, and my body
Mm,
probably won't take well to any of these meds. My husband's a diabetic, and he doesn't take well, and he's not even allergic to anything. So I'm afraid of those things. And I see
yeah.
him taking shots. No, absolutely not. This is where I'm like, bing,
Yeah.
Monica,
Yeah.
I need you
Yeah.
to help me. So that's where I'm at now,
Yeah.
is that I kind of was surprised that even in my first visit there, and I'm not even a diabetic, I was pre-diabetic, which I believe is reversible. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, give me a chance to work with this lady named Monica, and maybe in a couple months we can get some of these numbers looking better, and I'll see you later. Like, we'll revisit then. But I turned it down. I said,
Yeah.
maybe someday, but not right now. I just feel like I want to see what I can do with my own health through some more holistic, ways besides just the medicine.
Of course. Of course. And so last question, and then we're going to jump into your assessment results, is with the HRT. I know you said you've had some improvement, but not a ton. What symptoms right now are bothering you the most?
I know, because you probably are. The show is probably ending, and you don't have enough time for my results. Um, no, it's everything. Like I said, the bothering me the most would be fatigue, weight gain, and
Hmm.
this frozen shoulder.
Okay.
I still have other things too. I do need to get better sleep. I will tell you that the progesterone is helping me sleep better
Hmm.
with a magnesium glycinate, which I just started taking, but I didn't take it for a couple of nights, and I noticed I didn't sleep as well. But in general, I still have a hard time with the sleeping, but it is much better than it was. But I think the other issue would be that my body isn't absorbing all the HRT properly. So they've been
Hmm.
kind of yo-yoing me on the dosages.
Okay.
And so that also causes some nausea and fatigue. So I don't know if that counts or not. But either way, my main thing that I would want to see improve would be my fatigue, the weight gain,
Mhm.
and the cholesterol is important because like I said, I don't want to die from having high cholesterol. I will tell you that the number was 282. That's very high.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm probably your
No,
worst,
no, 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 no. This
my
is
worst client or patient.
no, no, no. This is thank you so much for being so candid and filling in some of the gaps. It really actually helps me connect the hormone puzzle pieces. So I really appreciate that. And it kind of makes what I'm seeing in your assessment make more sense.
Yeah,
Uh,
and to back up what I said, as far as my the way I feel and my numbers, it's only improved a little bit. And the proof of that was in the pudding when my blood work shows that it's only absorbing a little bit of the HRT
yeah.
and not enough. So it's
Yeah.
probably not enough to protect my bones. It's not enough to get me better to that next level, of optimal level, or even just it's just not, it's barely working. So I'm taking all this HRT and it's only working a tiny bit, even
Yeah.
not only the way I feel, but in the blood work results, like it's proof. So I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, no wonder I'm still struggling, but
I get it. I
and I
get
don't
it.
expect
But
miracles
yeah.
from you or anybody else. And I know I have to play the hugest role in this by doing my part.
Yes.
I'm just hoping to get some more answers and to try
Sure.
something different than just the medicine. Anybody can take a diabetic medicine, and if it ends up being that way where there's just nothing else that helps me and I needed to go in that, then that's something to think about. But for right now, honestly, I just want to try this the natural way and to do my part. But part of that is getting educated.
Yeah.
I only know certain things to do, but I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And neither
Absolutely.
do the doctors. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you booked this call
thank you.
because you've been dealing with a lot. And
Yeah.
you mentioned just some of the symptoms, the fatigue, the weight gain, the brain fog, the frozen shoulder, the inflammation. Not a lot of answers why this is happening, some diagnoses, but not a lot of root cause information.
Yeah.
And I know you've really tried to stay on top of your health. It's obvious. You've seen a number of doctors. You've done the specialist shuffle, as I like to call it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah.
You're
I'm
on
supposed
a
to.
you're on HRT, you're like, hey, whatever it takes. Like that's what's going to help at this point. I'm open to that. You've tried that. It's helping a little bit, but not a whole lot. You're still waking up and feeling pretty crummy. You're still dealing with this weight gain, which, HRT is was not designed to address at all.
Well, don't forget too, they had me on the low dose of HRT, then the high dose, and now I'm back on the lower dose of the estradiol. But I had some breakthrough bleeding, which I forgot to mention, like 4 or 5 times.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So
that's fairly common as they're trying to figure out what the right balance is. You know, we all have bioindividuality. I talk about that a lot. We're all chemical beings and everything is made up of chemicals, and so we react differently to chemicals. So
and
it can
also low libido too. I know that's pretty common. So,
okay, okay, all right.
anyways, I think that's about it. I think that's been.
Oh, and that's it. And that's a wrap. Okay, so given everything you've shared and the results of your, complete hormone assessment, one thing is
Mhm.
very clear. You're dealing with several overlapping hormone imbalances, but they're all connected. And at the root of them, I believe, is yes, your pituitary tumor. As you said, your thyroid controls a lot. But I also believe at the root of this is unresolved PCOS
Really?
because I'm seeing a cortisol imbalance, I'm seeing elevated androgens, I'm seeing an underactive thyroid. And I think that that's leaving you stuck in this cycle of weight gain and inflammation and insulin resistance, which we're also seeing in your pre diabetes. So, what I want to do is I want to briefly look at each imbalance that I'm seeing in your assessment and then connect the dots to untreated PCOS. Sound like a plan?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know why nobody mentioned this to me before, but thank you.
Okay. So the first hormone imbalance you scored positive for was progesterone deficiency. So
Mm.
even in post menopause, and you just mentioned this earlier, progesterone plays a crucial role, yes, in our sleep, but also our mood, our metabolism, and our fluid regulation, meaning like bloating and fluid retention. So I know you're on progesterone now, but your assessment shows that it's still low, likely due to inflammation that's blocking the HRT. And it's showing up in specifically in symptoms like headaches, mood swings, and bloating. Now, I
Yeah.
know your dose was reduced, right? Was that because of the breakthrough bleeding?
Well, they started me, I think they started me at 200 and then they moved me up to 400 to stop the bleeding. And then they moved me back down to 200. So, in a nutshell, for right now, I'm not bleeding anymore. They finally, and literally this just happened. I finally just stopped bleeding. I was like bleeding off and on for quite a while. It was very annoying and
Yeah.
kind of scary, like what's happening, because obviously you're not supposed to be bleeding.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now I was on the 0.5 estradiol, then I moved you up to the 1.1 or whatever. They doubled the dose on that too, and then went back down. So now I'm back to my original dose of the 0.5 and the 1. I'm sorry, the 0.5 on the estradiol and the 200 milligrams of the progesterone,
Mm-hmm.
which was my initial dose. So
Okay.
sorry, that was my dog in the background.
That's okay. I've
So
done it too.
he's he understands. He's been with me through it all.
Oh, yes, right? They're unconditional love. So, as I mentioned about the breakthrough bleeding, just to give you a little bit of information, that usually happens when your estrogen is overpowering your progesterone, which can throw off
Oh,
your
okay.
hormone balance. But
Yeah.
if your provider lowers your progesterone to manage the bleeding, sometimes that can bring back symptoms like sleeping issues or mood dips or bloating. So, again, finding that right HRT balance can be tricky. Too much
Yeah.
of one or too little of the other, and your body really feels it. So,
Yeah, and I'm currently not bleeding, so I'm hoping we can stay with that. And
yeah.
I'm glad that it's zero 0.5 on the estradiol. It's not, it's, half of what they were giving me. So I'm glad to be on a less amounts.
Mhm.
But I do know that she did mention that it might not be enough to protect my bones. So I'm kind of concerned about that. I don't know I don't know the truth about anything at this point. I'm just kind of trying to find answers. So,
Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about low estrogen, speaking of bone health, next, because you did also score positive for low estrogen. And keep in mind that you showed all of these symptoms while being on HRT. And so, what that says to me is not that HRT isn't necessarily a good option for you, but it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be
yeah.
eliminating a lot of these symptoms, and you're still scoring positive for these symptoms, which means that there's something blocking the HRT from doing its job. So, low estrogen, as you probably, hopefully know, is pretty common in postmenopause, right? Because our bodies don't need that estradiol, that
Oh,
principal
okay.
estrogen. We have three estrogens. Estradiol is our main estrogen that's used in reproductive health. And once we're postmenopause, we're not needing that estrogen anymore. So low estrogen or decreasing estrogen is very, very common. But in your case, your estrogen may not be metabolizing efficiently or balancing out some of your other hormones like androgens. And androgens are our male hormones, which I'll get to in just a minute. So, would you say you've noticed a dip in your memory, your mood, or your energy over the last year or so since going into menopause?
That is hilarious. Yes.
Okay.
That is so, it's really not funny, but my family and I, even my dad, who's pushing 80, they're all joking around because I have brain fog and I'm forgetting things. I don't know what my problem is, but I keep forgetting things.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's super common, just so you know, because estrogen helps regulate all of those symptoms. So it regulates serotonin, which affects our moods. It helps regulate our metabolism, which is how we process food and convert that into energy or store that as fat. It even affects our bladder and our vaginal tissue health. So all of those symptoms can be affected if your estrogen is too low.
Yeah. So just put the tag on my toe. I mean, come on. I'm still allowed to eat chocolate though, right?
Yes, actually, you are
And
in
now, if this is
small
stress
amount.
related too, then I'm just going to have to move out because I do have a teenager and a husband, and
Yes,
they don't really get this whole, they only know about the hot flashes. They don't understand.
yes,
It's not just making this up. It really
yes.
makes me look
No,
crazy,
no.
you
I'm
know?
I'm telling you right now, I usually talk to women who have one imbalance, sometimes zero. They just are gaining weight and it's more of a metabolic issue than a hormonal issue. Most one to two, but you scored positive for every single hormone imbalance. That doesn't mean that you have nine hormone imbalances. What that means is you have major hormonal issues due to inflammation, and it's gone on for a long period of time that's now affecting your entire endocrine system. And so that's
Yes.
why I'm trying to figure out the timeline and figure out, number one, what's the cause of all of these hormones being deficient or elevated. And then once we've determined that, or have a good guess that it's due to this unresolved PCOS, I want to explain to you what caused the PCOS in the first place so that some of the suggestions that I give you make sense based on all of that information. So I'm just going to get through these last imbalances, and then we'll
Okay.
dive into the root causes of PCOS, because I know we're tight on time here. So
Sure.
so the next one that you scored positive for is elevated androgens. Now this is extremely connected to PCOS, which we know you were diagnosed with years ago. If you're experiencing elevated androgens, you're experiencing symptoms like chin hair or facial hair, scalp thinning, belly fat, and mood swings, right? Which I know are all things that you indicated in your assessment. The important
Yeah.
thing to understand here is your PCOS doesn't just go away after menopause.
It doesn't.
No, it it
Oh my
it
gosh.
it, it
Uh,
to put it a nice way, it evolves. Okay.
okay.
So in fact, once you go into postmenopause and you experience that big drop in estrogen, that
Yeah.
can make androgen dominance, your male hormones, that can make androgen dominance even worse. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you.
So
I
I'm
want to
just
have some
again
hope here.
just trying to connect the dots. The next imbalance that you scored positive symptoms for was underactive thyroid. And I know you've mentioned that your thyroid numbers have been off, that you had that pituitary tumor. You mentioned the low T3 uptake. You're seeing signs of low T3 like fatigue, brain fog, poor stress tolerance, weight gain, sluggish metabolism. Do you feel like your energy crashes are predictable, or like they come at certain times of the day, or is it just like a constant drag?
It's a constant drag, but I will say that in the morning, mid-morning is when I start to have a little bit of energy. It's very hard for me in the morning, early, when I first get up, because I feel the inflammation that you're talking about would explain, like my knees and joints are sore getting up
Okay.
like an old lady. But then as I get going and the ricketiness kind of wears off, and I've had my half a cup of coffee with some coconut milk in it, and sometimes I put a little protein powdered stuff in there, like collagen. I'm trying to do a lot of collagen, thinking it would help. It's only helped a tad. Like I'm like, this is way beyond collagen. Okay, this
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so pretty much it's 24/7. But I do
Okay.
find little spurts of energy in the day, and it's not really predictable. So
Okay. Yeah, that sluggish feeling throughout the day, that's pretty common when your thyroid function drops. This is true even if your lab work was in normal range. A lot of women experience this, and they don't get a full panel. Maybe they just get their T3 or their T4, and they say, yeah, my doctor said I'm fine, but I can't get off the couch. Plus, just to let you know, with that PCOS, if that unresolved PCOS, if that again is the kind of underlying cause or contributor to all of this, that makes your thyroid dysfunction more likely. Again, connect the dot to the unresolved PCOS. The
it could
final,
be related to the thyroid,
yes, it can make your thyroid function worse.
like a domino effect.
Yeah, yeah, all of this is a domino effect. All of this is a domino effect. And then the last imbalance, aside from PCOS, which obviously you scored positive for as well, is adrenal fatigue. And I know you've mentioned on your assessment that you've been dealing with sugar cravings, poor sleep. It's been a little bit better since the progesterone, but muscle cramps, major fatigue. Are there times when you've like had to push through the day even though you were feeling completely drained?
You mean like drinking extra coffee or something?
Yeah, just like you're
Yeah.
so tired, but you just are like, no, I have work to do, or I have cleaning to do,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. And if I do too much, I overdo it, I get too tired. It's very annoying. I just want to get back to my normal
yeah,
self
yeah,
before the post. I feel like the post menopause, it all dropped like a hot rock,
yeah, yeah.
and I'm at a different level of lowness.
The pushing through cycle is is the reason why I mentioned that is because that's what exhausts your adrenals over time, especially with everything that you've been going through medically. So I really feel like your body's been in stress mode for years.
Yes, it
And
has.
since you were diagnosed with PCOS way back 30 years ago in your reproductive years, and it was never really treated. Now, today, we've got the prediabetes, the high cholesterol, the low thyroid that's showing up. It's like the long term effects are all catching up to you.
Oh, that
And
makes
so
sense.
that's why I'm feeling that the HRT alone, that isn't cutting it,
Yeah.
because the HRT is not designed to address the metabolic side of
Hmm.
PCOS. So, we're going to dive into the root causes contributing to Natalie's complete hormone meltdown in just a minute. But first, if you've been listening to this conversation and thinking, hey, how can I get to the bottom of my hormone symptoms? This is exactly what we do inside my Hormone Balance Breakthru Call. It's a private session where we walk through your symptoms, unpack your hormone imbalances, and map out your best next steps to balance your hormones naturally so you can feel like you again. And right now, you can book a Hormone Balance Breakthru Call, regularly $127, for just $67. Yeah, here's how. First, if you've never taken my free hormone symptom profile assessment, I want you to head on over to bit.ly/take my hormone quiz while you answer some questions, find out your main hormone imbalance, and unlock a special Hormone Balance Breakthru Call offer for just $67. That's almost 40% off my regular price of this call. Or if you've already taken my assessment, go straight to bit.ly/book a breakthrough call and use the special code AYTM at checkout to get my Hormone Balance Breakthru Call for $67. But hurry, because this discount expires just 24 hours after starting the booking process. I'll be sure to drop both links for you in today's show notes. So now that we've kind of talked a little bit about your assessment, I want to get into some of the root causes of unresolved PCOS. This is just to give you a little bit of education. So when we move into the suggestions, it'll make sense a little bit more, okay? So PCOS is not just about irregular cycles or cysts. It's actually a metabolic and hormonal disorder.
Wow.
So it's not just driven by biology, it can be heavily influenced by our nutrition, our stress patterns, our inflammation, our gut health, and even trauma. And so I wanted to explore a few patterns that might be contributing to how your PCOS developed or worsened over time, okay? The first possible root cause is insulin resistance. And this is actually one of the most common root causes of PCOS. It often flies under the radar for years because our metabolism is much better when we're younger and we've got that balance of estrogen and progesterone.
Yeah.
But what happens is our body over time just becomes less sensitive to insulin, just as we age. And how it compensates is it makes more. And that tells your ovaries to produce extra androgens. That's where like the facial hair and the scalp thinning and the belly fat, all of that comes from. So some common patterns that you might see that go to insulin resistance as being a contributing cause are a craving for sweets or carbs over the years, snacking between meals, or struggling even to feel full. Does any of that resonate with you?
Yes. I think you're right on the money.
Okay. And there's some other symptoms too, like hypoglycemia, weight gain, and even your prediabetes. Those are all pretty classic signs of insulin resistance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what happens when your insulin resistance goes unaddressed, it turns into this slow burn storm for PCOS. And that's where you get the metabolic dysfunction. It's the metabolic side of PCOS. And then of course that resolves or turns into the weight gain that you experience, especially like that 30 pounds in a year that you experienced. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing insulin resistance is at play here. The second possible root cause, I suspect, again, going back to kind of why maybe the HRT is not able to do its job, is chronic inflammation. And you mentioned lab work earlier. Here's the thing. Chronic inflammation is super sneaky because it often doesn't show up in our lab.
Yeah.
But our body feels it, right? And this chronic inflammation can come from a mix of factors. A sedentary lifestyle, which you mentioned, a new office job over the last year, that can be a contributing factor. Ultra processed foods, if you have less time to cook and you're relying more on like takeout or processed foods, that can be a contributing factor. Poor gut health, which is caused by a number of things, but we have a lot of food sensitivities as we get older. And so if your gut has been compromised too by a lot of antibiotics in the past, like past infections or injuries that you've had, that can damage our gut health.
That's happened. Yep.
Okay. So
Urinary tract infections, and some were not in urinary tract infections, and they still gave me antibiotics. So yes, I've had lots of antibiotics.
okay.
And yeah.
Okay, so when you're thinking about your day-to-day routine or lifestyle, it sounds like there's been stretches where you've been sitting a lot, maybe you've been eating a lot or, fast food just because you didn't have a chance to cook, and you've been feeling a lot of inflammation and puffiness. With your frozen shoulder and that back issue that you mentioned, and even your joint issues, I'd say inflammation is definitely playing a role. And I think your body has been trying to manage this for a while now.
Yeah.
And again, postmenopause is just the final flame that lights this, haystack of all these contributing factors going on.
Yeah, and I don't, the surprisingly though, I don't drink soda. I've cut back on a lot of things, and yet it's still happening. So I don't eat fast food, but I do eat food in restaurants, which has seed oils and crap in their
Yes.
food. So it is true. I need to eat at home more so I can really know what's in my food. But I don't rarely eat processed junk like chips and crackers, but maybe on occasion. So
Mhm.
it's just so weird how even a small amount of those things could still be keeping this me in this spiral mode, you know?
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of women think, oh, I'll just stop eating whatever it is, fill in the blank, cookies or crackers or chips or whatever, and my body will resolve itself. And just because you're removing the trigger, that's not enough to heal. You have to remove the trigger and then also add foods and supplements and modalities that get your body back to a state of balance or homeostasis. It's not enough just to remove some of the negative factors at this point, especially when your body's been dealing with inflammation for so long. I also think that another possible root cause of your PCOS is your imbalance of estrogen to progesterone, which you've been experiencing that since your 20s through perimenopause, menopause, and now postmenopause. And when I look back at what initially caused your PCOS, this combination of an imbalance of estrogen to progesterone is super, super common, especially if we look at years of your irregular cycles and if you were, using any kind of birth control or hormones or anything like that that could have affected your ovaries and your ovulation. So what happens is when estrogen builds up over time and progesterone stays low, which you were likely experiencing low progesterone, that probably was a
Yes.
contributing factor with your miscarriage or, your fertility issues. That can
Oh,
turn
really?
into, pardon me?
I often wondered why I had the miscarriage, but maybe that's what it was. Low
Yeah, it's
progesterone.
yeah, it's that imbalance. And it can affect your fertility and then it can also affect, other symptoms. It can affect your moods, it can lead to bloating, it can lead to fibroids and heavy bleeding. Just that estrogen buildup, which is a,
Oh,
a good a good flag for your estrogen dominance that you were diagnosed with and your estrogen receptive biopsy diagnosis. So there is a connection between our digestion, like constipation or like a sluggish bowel, and heavier hormonal symptoms like PMS and mood dips. So all of that, all of those symptoms that you've been experiencing for years now are all connected. And when our estrogen, when that buildup of estrogen can't be cleared through our gut or our liver, it just keeps
oh,
recirculating. So that leads to estrogen dominance, which is what you were diagnosed with. And the longer that estrogen dominance is allowed to live in our body, the harder it is for progesterone to keep up. So even now, when your estrogen is low, of course, because you're in postmenopause, that could help explain your low progesterone as well. So your body is still trying to balance your progesterone to estrogen, even when those levels are lower postmenopause. We still need those hormones. Okay.
yeah.
You mentioned stress. So that's the fourth possible root cause I'm suspecting here is chronic stress. Now, This is a big one, but it's really is easy to miss because a lot of women don't realize that long-term stress, whether that's emotional or physical, it puts pressure on our adrenals until our adrenals just start to tap out. So your body prioritizes making cortisol, which is the hormone that our adrenals make. It's our stress hormone. It prioritizes cortisol over everything else, including estrogen and progesterone and even thyroid hormones. So that's where symptoms like fatigue, sleep disruption, joint pain, and even insulin resistance show up. Those are all connected to a cortisol imbalance or adrenal fatigue. I want to ask, and feel free to share what you feel comfortable with, but does this sound like it's stress has been something that's been part of your story? Like, have you been dealing with either like ongoing life stressors, or it could have been trauma even in your early childhood years, or just years of medical stress stacking up?
Oh, absolutely. I've had stress. And I'm not just saying this because I know everybody has stress and, I'm not better than anybody else or whatever. Everybody deals with stress. So I already know that. But yes, and even one of my friends said to me the other day, ever since I've known you, you've been under stress, your whole life. And so I have been under stress my whole life, but in a nutshell, yes, childhood trauma, growing up with a German mother that was very stern and, didn't really hear I love you very much or hugs. She drank wine all the time. So I don't want to paint people in a bad picture because there's good sides to my family as well that I grew up with. But I did have stress in my childhood. And then also after I got married, I had stress with my marriage. And then when we had a kid, it became more stressful. And now I have a teenager and I'm trying to learn how to adapt to that because that's a whole new ball game for me. And it's been stress after stress. Plus when you add all the medical things that have happened. And then my family, my parents and my sister and my nephews, they all moved to Tennessee just recently. And that's been another stressor. So I don't even have my family here anymore. And so there's just been different stresses. I will tell you that the medical stress has been unpleasant and very stressful. And I always thinking, I want to avoid cancer and I don't want to go through another surgery. Stress, stress, stress all the time. And it's very rare that I can relax.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, I think between all of your past procedures that you've had, the stress that you just shared with your family, the pituitary tumor, the pain, constantly trying to fix your body, I just think your adrenals are like waving the white flag. And
Oh, I think they're drinking a beer somewhere. I don't know. They're gone. They've left the
oh,
building.
they've left the building. And when, as I mentioned, when your adrenals control everything. So when your adrenals are burnt out, everything else follows. Okay.
Yeah.
So that in a nutshell is what I feel based on your health assessment and your hormone assessment of what's kind of going on. So where do we go from here? The $65,000 question, right? We can't fix this all on a call, obviously, but
Right.
I can give you a few clear next steps.
Okay.
You can start moving toward more balanced hormones and better health. Sound good? Okay.
Okay.
So get your pen and paper because this is the meat here.
I'm ready.
Oh, okay. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to focus on low glycemic, high fiber, whole food. Well, let me explain. So I want 80% of your meals is the goal to come from low glycemic, nutrient dense foods. Why? Because the glycemic index of a food tells us how fast a food will spike your blood sugar. Remember I said I suspect insulin resistance is going on here?
So you mean chips at Taco Tuesday or no?
Correct. Correct, Natalie. So low GI foods
Okay.
means better insulin control, means better fewer cravings, means less fat storage, and means steadier energy. So we're trying to give you tips that are going to kind of knock out some of your symptoms. We're not I'm not focused on symptom management. I'm focused on underlying root causes, but by addressing some of these underlying root causes, they'll knock out the symptom. So, for example, I want you to focus on low GI fruits like apples, berries, and pears. And I want you to skip high GI fruits like bananas, pineapple, and watermelon.
Which I have in my fridge right now.
Okay, well, give that to your husband or your daughter. The second thing that I want you to do, and this is related to nutrition, is I want you to prioritize protein. Now, there's been some studies done. In fact, there was a really great study done in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and it was just on postmenopausal women with PCOS. And they found that focusing on a diet of 40% protein or higher led to greater weight loss and fat loss, plus reduced waistline. So if you're seeing a lot of weight gain in your stomach, and speaking of prediabetes, better glucose level. So 40% of your calories from protein is going to be your goal. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to aim for about a gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. That's kind of a quick and dirty calculation to figure that out. You're going to want to make sure that you include protein at every meal, including a snack. I want you to focus as much as possible on essential amino acid proteins from a meat source. So not vegan or not vegetarian. So I want you to focus on eggs, grass-fed beef, hormone-free chicken and turkey, wild-caught seafood and fish. That's where I want you to get your protein. And you can also supplement with collagen and whey protein to be able to hit those protein goals.
That's what I was going to ask, because
Yeah.
sometimes I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you're also eating any supplementary protein with whole foods.
Question about that.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. I've noticed that about myself, that I have substituted a lot with the power bars, and I do take collagen every day, or the bone protein powder to try to meet my goals, but real food is actually better than that. So my question to you would be, am I allowed to add any of those things in daily or just on occasion, or does that matter as long as I'm getting the whole foods in as well? You know, if I eat that chicken later, can I have that collagen drink in my coffee, or the whatever
Yes.
I'm adding it to? Okay, so on a daily
Yes.
basis, it's still okay to eat the collagen powder.
Yes, daily is fine, but what I will say is it's not frequency, but percentage. Meaning I can have supplemental whey protein or collagen every single day, but if it's making up, 40% of my protein for the day, that's not okay. The bulk, 80% of your protein should be from whole food sources. I also want to make sure that, and a lot of women don't do this, but because you have adrenal issues, it's really important that you start stabilizing your cortisol first thing in the morning and that you get your metabolism going. So I want you to eat within 30 to 60 minutes of waking to stabilize your blood sugar and your cortisol and really help with your energy. Okay. So you need to eat within 30 to 60 minutes, and that needs to contain protein. There's so many other tips that I could give you, but for the purpose of this call, we're almost out of time. So I'm just going to give you the very last suggestion.
Okay.
And I always rely on food as the first line of defense, but because your symptoms are so far advanced and chronic, I would recommend starting with some additional supplements. And the one supplement that I want to recommend to you right now is called myo-inositol. I want you to take between 1 and 4 grams daily. Basically, this is a compound that's made from glucose-like molecules. It's all natural, but it's been shown to help with insulin sensitivity, which I think is definitely going on with your prediabetes.
Yeah.
It lowers CRP, and all that is it's an inflammation marker in our body. So it's been known to lower inflammation. It helps reduce your triglycerides and cholesterol, which I know is something that you're trying to get under control. And then it also helps improve your mood, your cravings, and your energy. The great thing about it is you can take it as a powder, so you can mix it into stuff, or you can take it as a capsule, like once or twice a day. And for starters, I'd recommend starting at the low end, so probably 2 grams a day. And then you can see how you feel with that. And if you need to, you can build up to 4 grams.
Okay.
And there we have it.
That sounds easy enough.
So
I mean, you made it sound easy, but
I know this has been a lot. And these are just, first steps, but I
Yeah.
think these first steps are a really good start. Any questions about any of that before we wrap up?
No, I think that sounds good. I actually think your steps are pretty reasonable and they sound pretty easy.
Okay, good.
For
Well,
now, anyways. The
for
first
now,
step.
yeah. First
First
step.
step.
Rome wasn't built in a day. We didn't get here in
Right.
a day, and we can't fix the problem in a day, but just remember you're not alone. And, if you decide you want support in the future, creating a plan that's customized to you, your hormones, your history, what's going on, I'm always here.
I'm definitely going to want that because, I've got a big belly right now and I joke around to my daughter that, my belly enters the room 10 minutes before I do. And it's kind of embarrassing to her teenage friends too. So I'm getting hit on all sides. So I am ready to do something different.
Well, sounds good. And I know we're going to stay in touch and see how these first steps are going for you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Take care.
Are you ready for your own breakthrough? Grab the link in today's show notes to book a Hormone Balance Breakthru Call with me for just $67 before this special offer expires. Then join me back here next week where we'll start a new series just in time for back to school called Back to the Basics, where I'll share the fundamental building blocks of hormone balance that most women are skipping, often without realizing it. Whether you're just entering perimenopause or you've been struggling with a hormone imbalance for months or even years, this series will bring you back to center and show you what to focus on first. Until then, wishing you health, happiness, and fewer hot flashes.
Hey, friend. Can I call you friend? Because I already feel like we're friends in my head. Did this podcast teach you something, make you laugh, or feel less like an alien? If so, I would be so incredibly grateful if you could take just 60 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe. That is the #1 way you can thank me and support the show. Until next week, stay cool and keep away from sharp objects.